At 62, Marcus Thompson stood at the VIP lounge entrance at Los Angeles International Airport, holding a worn leather bag. His plaid shirt was faded from years of hard work under the sun. A security guard named Chris blocked his path with a stiff arm. "Sorry, sir," Chris said, his voice dripping with condescension. "This area is for premium passengers only." Marcus calmly presented his valid VIP card, his name printed clearly on it. Chris barely glanced at it, a smirk playing on his lips as he announced they needed to verify it. Just then, a flustered businessman in an expensive suit rushed past them, not even bothering to show a card. Chris waved him through with a nod and a smile. Marcus watched, a familiar heavy feeling settling in his gut. He knew exactly what this was about, but what Chris and the other staff couldn't possibly know was that Marcus wasn't just any passenger. While Chris made a show of calling his manager to investigate the supposedly suspicious card, a well-dressed white couple approached. They were ushered into the lounge immediately, without a single question asked. The manager, a man named Gerald, soon arrived, his demeanor even more hostile than the guards. He didn't just question the card. He demanded proof of income and employment documents. He even threatened to call airport security, his voice rising with each accusation. Marcus stood his ground, maintaining his composure in the face of escalating hostility. An elderly white woman who had been watching the scene unfold finally spoke up. "You're treating him differently because of how he looks," she said, her voice firm. The staff quickly told her to mind her own business. For nearly an hour, Marcus was forced to defend himself, to prove he wasn't a thief, a fraud, or someone who had cloned a VIP card. He was just about to lose his patience when his phone rang. And in that moment, something impossible happened. A pilot, in an immaculate uniform, strode purposefully through the terminal, making a beeline for the commotion. He stopped directly in front of Marcus. "Mr. Thompson," the pilot said, his voice clear and professional, "your jet is ready. We're past our scheduled departure time." The words hung in the air, silencing the entire area. The smirks on Chris's and Gerald's faces vanished, replaced by sheer disbelief. In the midst of the humiliation, Marcus had completely forgotten. He wasn't flying commercial today. He owned his own Gulfstream G650, one of the most expensive and exclusive private jets in the world. He just rarely used it, preferring the simplicity of flying with everyone else. Chris's face turned a ghostly white. Gerald stumbled forward, stuttering apologies and tripping over his words. Suddenly, everyone remembered Marcus existed, but for a reason that had nothing to do with his character and everything to do with his wealth. But the truth was far more devastating than anyone there could have imagined. Marcus didn't just own a private jet. He was the founder of one of the largest agricultural operations in the entire country. His company employed over 5,000 people and exported goods across Europe and Asia. He was a self-made man, a pillar of his industry, and the CEO of the airport? He was Marcus's best friend of 35 years, a man whose own career Marcus had helped finance when he was just starting out. Marcus made a single phone call. Within minutes, the airport CEO arrived in person. He saw his old friend being detained and immediately embraced him, listening intently as Marcus quietly recounted the events of the past hour. The CEO's face hardened. Chris and Gerald were suspended on the spot. But Marcus stopped his friend from firing them. He didn't want revenge. He wanted change. He insisted on a full investigation and mandatory, comprehensive anti-discrimination training for every single employee at the airport. Because he knew this wasn't really about him. It was about every person who is judged by the color of their skin, the clothes they wear, or the way they look, the countless people who don't have a private jet or a CEO on speed dial to come to their defense. As Marcus walked toward the tarmac where his jet was waiting, Chris and Gerald stood frozen, the full weight of their actions crashing down on them. They had humiliated a man who could have destroyed their careers with a word. But the worst part wasn't that they didn't recognize who he was. The worst part was that it should never have mattered. Whether he was a farmer or a billionaire, he deserved to be treated with basic human dignity. Before boarding his Gulfstream, Marcus turned back one last time. He looked directly at the crowd that had gathered and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Next time you judge someone, ask yourself, would I be treating them this way if they looked different?" The elderly woman who had defended him gave him a warm, supportive wave. The couple who had ignored his plight looked away, their faces flushed with shame. As the jet ascended into the sky, Marcus knew he had planted a seed of change, but he also carried the heavy knowledge of how many people face this same injustice every single day, without a private jet waiting to fly them away from it. What Marcus did next showed his true character. He didn't just fly away and forget. He worked with the airport to create a new foundation, funded by his company, dedicated to promoting equality and providing resources for those who have experienced discrimination. The story of what happened at LAX that day became a mandatory part of the new employee training program. Chris and Gerald had to complete an intensive course and issue a public apology, not just to Marcus, but to the community. They were given a second chance, but under strict probation, a reminder that respect isn't optional. Marcus's story reminds us that a person's worth is not defined by their appearance or their bank account. It's about who they are on the inside. Let this be a lesson to all of us, to look beyond the surface and treat everyone with the kindness and respect they deserve. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content that makes you think. We'll see you in the next video.